That was way before I heard that good writing. These two hard counters. Magic man. Yeah, bro. As the #1 Magic on both console and PC, I believe that I should do my due diligence as a Magic player and put out another guide for you fellow Magic players. However, this is not going to be your basic guide. It is going to be for advanced Magic players only. I already made a basic guide, which I will link in the top right corner, and all of the same things that I said in that guide still apply to this day. This guide will cover much more advanced tech and tips that I promise you little to no Magics have ever seen before. For anybody who's curious how I did in one above all lobbies after the video was finished, I actually ended up getting placed into top 100, and I'm going up more and more by the day on the leaderboard. So feel free to check out the streams again on Kingster265_Twitch. Speaking of that video, kind of performed really good. But anyway, let's jump right into it. First of all, whenever you attack anybody as Magic, there is actually significant damage fall off with her sword, with it dealing less and less damage the further you are away from the person, to around 1/3 of its overall damage capacity in total. If you're really close to the person, it only takes 4 hits to kill, and if you're really far away, it takes 8. Not only that, but this also massively applies to her Darkchild form, where if you're really far away, you could end up taking literally more time to kill than just using your regular sword, to the point where it actually deals less damage than your regular basic attacks. For those of you who don't know, Magic actually does more damage when she attacks and then immediately punches afterwards. However, this is not always practical to use. Magic meleeing and punching is good to use only when you are dealing single target damage and there is nobody else in a group. Otherwise, swinging your sword is much more practical, and just permanently swinging the sword allows you to hit larger ranges of enemies when you're brawling, which in turn gives you more shield, more ult charge, and more farm, which is much more important than permanently spamming your punch. I mean, if you look at this clip right here, I get my ultimate back in 15 seconds just by spamming the sword and holding it down, because there's a large group of enemies who are all getting hit by it, instead of canceling my sword to melee after every single sword swing, which does deal more damage, but only to single targets. I talked about this last time briefly, but meleeing after every single attack you do is very good to do, especially if you have cooldowns up, but it is again impractical if they are too far away. It does deal an additional 80 to 120 damage if you hit every single ability and all of the melees, but sometimes it's better to just instantly use all of the abilities and burn the cooldowns, like a slash, uppercut, another slash, especially if the person is further away and you need to guarantee that damage, because the melee will actually miss. Your melee has a shorter range than your sword attack. Just like the damage fall off with the sword, the melee does not always connect, so you actually could end up harming yourself whenever you go for the melee. The next technique that I want to talk about is called height portaling, which I invented myself, and I have never seen anybody do this before. When you go inside of Magic's portal, it keeps your current horizontal elevation. However, it does give you a small vertical elevation boost, which allows you to access points that you previously wouldn't be able to access before, essentially making it so you don't have to use your dash to get onto these high ground spots and just being able to portal them from lower ground, which does break the map in some spots, like on T'Challa, the T'Challa convoy map, and a bunch of other maps, which I'll leave you guys to find for yourself. I haven't found all the spots yet, but I know there is quite a bit of them. The next thing I want to talk about is Magic's ultimate's demon utilization, and what I mean by this is actually properly using her demon when she's in her ultimate form. If you guys don't know, Magic's ult also amplifies her portal and her demon, and I see a lot of Magic players, whenever they get the ult, just instantly portal in, spam the swirl, uppercut, and spam the swirl again. But this is not the proper way to play Magic. If you can force the enemy team to group up, putting your demon behind them and making them back up into it, since you move much faster and portal much faster, is much more optimal and does way more damage, practically insta-killing any support you have your demon focused on. Since Magic herself is a corner defender, and that's the way her whole kit is supposed to be revolved around, playing these flank points and then putting demons around these corners, it's even more amplified by her ult. When using her uppercut, you can actually cast the animation even while the timer is ended in your ult to get that uppercut off, which does an extra 190 damage to whoever you connect it on. This allows for some crazy one-shots even when you have just 1 second left on your ult. Everybody knows the Magic one-shot combo where you fully charge up an L2 in the ultimate form and then do a dash right afterwards, landing both, which insta-kills the support. But did you know you can actually cancel the throw prematurely and do something really similar to a ghost dash where you master the timing being exactly synced, allowing you to kill them even before fully charging up your slash, which lets you do this.
Oh my god!
and it is very consistent.
Let's see if I can kill her. Everybody look at Luna. Everybody look at Luna. Purple, purple, purple. Dead! Nice, GG.
The next thing I want to talk about is the practicality of every single Magik combo. I see a lot of people on TikTok just spamming the World Dash Uppercut Basic Attack Melee and never ever getting any value and putting yourself in the worst position possible. The World Dash combo is the worst combo out of Magik's kit. You only want to use this combo if you're like one-shotting a Hela who has no heals or no bird, or somebody like a Loki who literally has no green, because otherwise you're just going to get yourself killed 90% of the time because you only have one portal to leave after you even land this combo. That's if you hit the uppercut. What I recommend doing instead is either portaling in the back line and putting the demons behind the supports, because you have 3 seconds to walk behind those supports and then place your demons. You do not need to instantly place the demons in order to kill them. Or fully charge up your throw it on a support, then uppercut them and do a basic attack, or hit them with a regular attack and then uppercut them. This is a guaranteed way to instantly kill any support that you're looking at. Demon is much better when the supports are grouped up because it can hit all of them at the same time, and you can clean it up with your basic melees. As always, whenever you're 1v1ing a tank and there's nobody else around, that's when you should be doing the attack, melee, attack, melee, attack, melee. Then it's worth doing that over any other combo. Of course, if you don't have any cooldowns. Speaking of practicality, one thing we have to talk about is Magik's ultimate. The thing is with Magik ult, you get it extraordinarily fast when you're brawling these tanks and you insta-kill these supports. So how exactly do you use it to get its maximum value? Well, simply put, you don't. Magik ult is really good at killing the whole team and forcing them to focus on you. But that force will most of the time get another support ult out, and maybe you'll get the shutdown, but most of the time you won't get the shutdown on the support. Or maybe you'll be able to kill one person who's in the support ult by performing the combo on them. Magik's ult is the best ult in the game for forcing out other support ults, because once you outcycle them, you win all fights with your support ults and your brawl, because Magik is an inherently strong character when it comes to brawl, and she smashes other teams just like you should smash that like and subscribe button because nobody likes the video. Magik's ability to take space is better than any other DPS that I've ever seen. You can force anybody into any form of corner, and then you can be a corner defender, because that's what Magik is, and instantly kill whichever support is in there just by putting demons or hitting an uppercut or landing a combo. Just force them out into the worst position possible for your team to take that space. I don't really think there's a single other DPS who can brawl and take as much space as she can. Except for Phoenix, because why not let Phoenix do everything? But you have to remember that Magik is not a frontliner. I see people playing her in the front line and just DPSing the tanks. You are going to get yourself killed so many times. Whenever I play Magik in the quote-unquote front line, it's always around the corner, so I can get myself into a better position just by using a portal or a dash. That's the whole purpose of the playstyle. You play in the corner, you play on the backline's corner, or you play in the brawl. All 3 of these provide immense value to the team because you build your ult and you can outcycle the enemy team's support ult. I talked about this partially in the first video, but I think it's more important to go a little bit more in depth here. Whenever you bait out cooldowns, you don't just go right back in. You have to wait for the opportunity to present itself by a support wide peeking to heal somebody, or waiting for someone else on your team to walk up because they know you're about to go in. That pressure creates a small window or a small moment where the supports and the tanks are not looking at each other, because the enemy team's tanks are supposed to look forward at your team pushing up, and the enemy team's supports have to look at you, which in turn makes the enemy team collapse. They all die instantaneously. That's why dive works in the first place. The whole concept only revolves around supports not looking at the tanks, because if they look at the tanks while you're diving them, you're going to get a kill guaranteed. That's the practicality of Magik. She forces these dives, which in turn forces a brawl, which puts everything in her favor. Magik can control the game just by doing this, and she's one of the only divers in the entire game who can be a hybrid, who can both brawl and dive, which is why she's such a good character. The only real problem with this character is if they have like triple flyer, but then again, they have no frontline if they're running that comp in the first place, and you're already winning. Mind you guys, this is an advanced guide, so I'm gonna assume you already know how her passive works, like I talked about in the first video, and how all of her kit works. So you know why this functionality is insanely strong. Magik is not the only character who can take space like this, but she's one of the only ones who can take advantage of it. Like Captain America, for example, can create massive amounts of space for his team, but he cannot guarantee those kills, and in a trade-off for him not being able to kill people, he has his own support ults, and he has a lot more health. Learning Magik and learning any type of dive character really does put you into a sense of the flow of the game and the functionality of it in the first place. Once you grow to understand how suppressing the enemy team's backline can help, you learn how to play the frontline better too. And that comes with other characters like Bucky, Namor, and other spam that make the game feel like a coin flip. These characters being able to control the game like this makes it something that you can have a large amount of influence on your game, which is why when I played Magik to top 500 on my solo queue challenge, I had an 88% win rate soloing. The simple fact that you can control the game and have more impact once you understand it makes you a much better player. Magik is my favorite character in this game, so I really wanted to make this video good. I hope I did a good job. But thanks again so much for watching, guys. And if you didn't already check out the actual guide to Magik, this is just an advanced tips. If you're completely new to the character, I strongly recommend you go watch that one first. It'll be linked in the description. And feel free to like and subscribe. Have a good day, everybody. Bye-bye!